What's up, everybody? UFC 263 has just concluded about 10 minutes ago, and I am already in the studio bringing you guys a recap as promised. Fantastic show. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Very exciting. Lived up to the expectations and exceeded them, in my opinion. And this is going to be a fun recap. Very excited to go over these fights, and hopefully I'll do a great job. You guys give me great comments and like the posts and the video, and share with your friends. So let's get started. All right, so the first match on the main card was Paul Craig versus Jamahal Hill, light heavyweight. I didn't really know what to expect in this fight, to be honest. Jamal's got a lot of hype behind him. Paul Craig's obviously had some big fights, shown a lot of experience. So I was just going to watch it and just report what I see. The fight starts, a little hesitation, but it seems like Paul Craig really wants to get the fight to the ground. I usually don't like seeing that. I don't like seeing guys pulling guard, flopping to their backs. So I'm thinking I'm not so impressed with Paul Craig at this stage. I'm a fighter to fight, to get in there and brawl. And, obviously if you get in a real fight like in Pride rules, or you get in a fight on the street or something, you're not going to fall to your back. So to me, a UFC fight's a fight. It's not a BJJ match. It's not a grappling tournament. But I will say there was definitely reason to Paul Craig wanting to go to the ground, because he was very, very busy once he got there. Transitions were great. He went straight for the arm, put Jamahal Hill in an arm bar, and absolutely broke his arm. Vicious. I mean, just broke it. You can just see it snap. And, hats off to Jamahal Hill. He didn't tap. He didn't quit. He kept fighting out of it. His arm was just flopping all over the place. And then it was eventually stopped. I want to say that I don't agree with the stoppage in regards to it was late. I think, I understand that there's different angles of, seeing what's going on and seeing the action. But when a guy gets put into an arm bar, as a referee, your job is to look at that arm. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? There's nothing else to look at. So if you don't have a clear side of that arm, you should move and get a clear side of that arm, because that arm breaking is what you're looking for, or you're looking for a tap. Either way, you got to be looking at that arm. And he clearly didn't see the break, which was very visible on the replay. So he didn't put himself in position to see it. Or he didn't recognize that was what an arm break looks like. And I know it was later just announced that the arm didn't break. It broke. It didn't break because it was in the joint. But I mean, everything that's holding the bones together is torn and ripped apart. So I'm gonna just call it a break, even though maybe a bone didn't break. Everything else was gone in that elbow. So. And I want to say something else too. I don't kind of agree with is 90-year-old referees. I don't understand this. I don't understand there's so many valid, young, strong, physical referees that can get in there and do the job. That's got quick reflexes, fast motor skills. They're strong in case something goes on. I mean, what happens if these light heavyweights, the bell rings and they're heated up and they don't stop fighting and they start continuing fighting after the bell, and he's got to get in there and break it up. This man can't break up anything. I mean, I don't understand how a guy can get a ref license at 90 years old or 80 or however old this guy is. There's no way this guy could have done anything physical to control this fight. And I think that as a ref, you need to have the ability to pull guys apart. Big John, that's one thing about Big John. When he was a ref, he was big enough that no matter what happened, he had the strength and the size to pull those guys apart if things got out of control, or stop a fight by pulling people apart if an arm breaks or if something happens. So I've seen in the past UFC, they've had, I don't know what her name was, but there was a female referee that was very small, just a tiny female referee, and she's reffing like heavyweight men fights, where it's like 240-pound guys, 250-pound guys. She can't do anything. I don't understand this. I never will. If you guys think I'm wrong, leave a comment below and tell me how I'm wrong. I fought 15 times in the UFC. I've been watching the UFC for 20 years, and I've been in martial arts since I was a kid, over 30 years. So in my experience, in my opinion, I think a referee should be qualified in every regard, mentally, educationally, and physically. And I think they should be able to identify if an arm breaks. I think they should be able to break a fight up no matter what size the opponents are, or at least give a good enough effort to get in there and cause some kind of separation. And I don't like seeing, when there's just so many people that can be refs out there. I don't like seeing a guy that old. And it's nothing against the guy, hats off to him for trying to go in there and do his thing. But I don't agree with it. And I think it puts the fighters in danger. And I think it did tonight. I think I don't think nothing good happened after that arm popped. I mean, it didn't break, but whatever you want to call it. After the arm went limp and it was flopping all over the place, nothing went good from the time that happened until the time the fight was called. And that ref could have stopped that fight earlier and not had that happen. So, all those flops was just tearing more tendons and ligaments and causing more damage that he's going to have to sit out and wait on to recover. So, yeah, I guess the majority of my recap on that is just the refs' lack of qualifications, in my opinion. But hats off to Paul Craig. Fantastic fight. It's a great example of where it starts out in a way where I'm not that big of a fan of his style, not a fan of how he's fighting, and then he turns it around on me because he just does so damn well and gets the job done and couldn't have won in a more dominant fashion. So hats off to Paul Craig. Can't wait to see who he's got next. The sky's the limit. I think he's going to be going up and facing tougher competition now. All right, so the next fight is Demian Maia versus Belal Muhammad. Hats off to Demian Maia. I mean, the guy's got more wins in the UFC than anyone except Cowboy Cerrone. And if he had won tonight, he would have tied Cowboy Cerrone. So I think it's like 33 or something, like crazy number of wins in the UFC. Hats off to him, but he's off his game. He's not the Demian Maia of past. Belal Muhammad fought a great fight. He was composed. He was sharp. I did give the first round. Personally, I gave the first round to Demian Maia. He did get the takedown. He had the pressure. He was aggressive. And then he just faded out. He got the takedown and then just got stuck on the single leg. And then for the last two rounds, it was just the whole fight was basically him going for singles, missing the singles, and just getting struck out by Belal. And yeah, so there's not much to really talk about. It wasn't really that exciting of a fight. I think Demian Maia, it's probably time to hang it up. He's not the fighter that he used to be. I know Belal's a great fighter, and I get that, he's not some chump or anything like that, it means Demian Maia's not good. But the way Demian Maia fought is what I'm not a fan of. And I think that's not the Demian Maia of the past. For whatever reason, Demian Maia, with his level of expertise in jiu-jitsu, to get to the level that he is in BJJ and the tournaments that he's won and the competitions he's won and the fights that he's won, he's had to at some point been on point mentally where he mixes it up and transitions faster and better and changes things up faster and better. You can't just be one-sided and have the accolades that he has. So the fact that he went out there and just wouldn't change it up and just kept sticking to the same thing that wasn't working the entire time tells you that it's not just a physical thing, which he did get tired. He did get more tired as the fight went on. But it's a mental thing too. He doesn't have the ability to think in a strategic way like he used to. And so I just think that, it might be time for him to hang it up, in my opinion. But I'm a huge fan of Demian Maia. Always have been a huge fan of Demian Maia. So it's no knock on him, man. We all get old, we all get old. And, I feel I'm in the best shape of my life. You follow me on social media or something, you see I'm training every day and I feel great. But if I got in there and fought, it wouldn't be the same. My mind's not going to make as quick of reactions and decisions. My body's not going to be as physical conditioning wise. And so I'm just going to say, hats off to Belal for keeping composure, having a great fight, using great technique, defending the takedowns really well. And Demian Maia just didn't impress me, and I think it might be time for him to hang it up. All right, fellas, you want to help support the podcast? I know you do. All this content, all these interviews with these fantastic guests that we're putting out for you, well, now you can. And you can save 20% off and get free shipping by getting the best below-the-waist men's grooming products on the market. I'm talking about Manscaped. All you got to do is go to manscaped.com, manscaped.com, enter code QUICK at checkout, 20% off, and free shipping. Quick is my nickname. It is not how you use the product. Don't be silly, fellas. Come on. But Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and now they have the new Lawnmower 4.0, which is next level, the best trimmer on the market ever made. What makes it different? It has skin-safe replacement ceramic blades, controllable LED lights, wireless charging dock, and a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and it's even waterproof. They also have a full line of hygiene and grooming products like the Shears 2.0 luxury nail kit, crop mops, preserver, reviver, and a lot more. Manscaped has everything you need to appeal to your lady friend, but don't thank me, thank yourself. By going to manscaped.com, entering code QUICK, get 20% off, get free shipping. It's a win-win for you, it's a win-win for us, and you're supporting the podcast. All right, so the next fight is Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards, and this is one I was very much looking forward to. It's easy to count Nate out. First of all, we all love Nate. Nate is just an OG of the sport. You can't not love. I mean, look at the stadium. Nate just walks in and the place goes crazy. Everything he does, he's just an icon of the sport. So, you can't not kind of root for Nate, especially against a guy like Leon Edwards, who, he's great. He's technical. He's one of the best in the division. He's proved that over and over again. But he hasn't done the things that Nate has to win over the love of the masses yet. And so it's nothing against his technical side. It's nothing against his fighting accolades. It's just the fact that he's fighting a guy that is just going to be a popular fighter no matter what happens. And, the fight was about what I assumed it would be in those first few rounds. Nate was playing games, and Leon did a great job of taking the center. The first, I think, 3 rounds, he got a takedown every time. I think the 4th round he got 2 takedowns, but he did a very good job of taking the center, being very composed. Nate was tricking him up. Nate was actually doing a fantastic job of doing his antics. Usually when fighters do antics and turn their back and do crazy things, it's not a good sign. It's a sign of them being frustrated or trying to, show off, just to get the attention away from them getting beat or getting outstruck or losing the fight. With Nate, he does a great job of using those things to try to get people off their game. And I think when you're fighting a very superior athlete, maybe not like crazy superior from Nate, but definitely superior in his technique and his speed, his power, you have to do things to get him off his game. You don't want to fight that guy head-to-head, point for point, and try to beat him. You got to try to do things. And I think Nate did a fantastic job of trying to do everything he could to mix it up. But unfortunately, he was just getting the rough end of it the entire time. The first 4 rounds especially. He got a takedown. He lost a takedown every round. I think the 4th round he lost 2. He was taking big shots. The kicks were adding up. Leon was doing a great job of throwing kicks. Nate was doing some stuff too, and Nate was landing. Nate was finding some homes. Nate was finding a home for some of his punches and some of his strikes too. So hats off to him for that. But you can just see the difference in speed and technique when you look at someone like Leon versus someone like Nate. And then we get into round 4. I think Leon started out pretty strong. Took the center again. In my opinion, it's going to be another round just like the rest. It's going to be a clean sweep for Leon Edwards. And boom, like crazy excitement happens. Nate lands just a solid punch right on top of Leon's jaw, rocks him, stumbles him. It looks like he was almost out on the feet. Then Nate made the biggest mistake in history. Nate went back to playing games. He pointed at him, which killed about 10, 15 seconds. Then he stalked him down without punching, but just kind of stalking him, waiting for that big punch for another like 15 or 20 seconds. And he had then about like 30, 45 seconds to finish the fight. I think he could have finished the fight and became just even more of a legend. He didn't finish the fight, and Leon won, and of course the crowd went crazy. And this is just another example of Nate Diaz. When he comes up short and loses a fight, he becomes a bigger star. He can't not become a bigger star every fight. He looked like a zombie in the 4th round, just covered in blood. Like, didn't faze him at all. Blood all over the place. Just a complete zombie fighting Leon Edwards. And then he comes through and almost knocks him out. I was just, that side of me that's a Nate Diaz fan really wanted to see him have that killer instinct and go in there and then just go for it. Just continue to punch just as fast, as hard as he could. Leon was clearly very, very hurt, and it would have been very unlikely Leon probably would have landed a knockout punch back on Nate. I mean, he'd already taken so many hard punches, and then he could have just flurried really hard, and he probably would have landed a couple more and put Leon out and won the fight. I think he'll look back at the video and be upset that he didn't do that. But that being said, it was still crazy exciting. It was awesome to see, everybody's standing up. We're all standing up out of our couch or off our couch and wherever you're sitting and just, expecting that he's going to get the fight finished and it's going to be like down to the last like 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. But it didn't happen. But again, Nate, his legend grew. His fans, he gets off the stool in between the round and the place goes crazy. He gets a standing ovation. I mean, the guy is he's just got star power. He's got the it factor. And I will say hats off to Leon. He fought a great fight up until the end. He fought a fantastic fight. He showed how technical and how good he really is because Nate is good. People want to say Nate's old and Nate's had a bunch of losses and Nate's, not a formidable opponent. But let me tell you, he really is. Nate's had tough fights and he's beat great fighters. I mean, he's beat Conor McGregor. He's beat a lot of guys. I could go on for days. I mean, he's a great fighter. So it was still a very good test for Leon. And Leon passed with flying colors by the composure, by not letting these unvariables like the antics and the games get to him and get him off his game. He was very sharp. He was very fast. I was very, very, very impressed. The big question is going to be because he did get almost knocked out by Nate Diaz at the end of that fight and looked really bad and the fight was almost ended. And I think anyone can argue that fight could have been over for Leon Edwards. I mean, it literally could have been over. If Nate had a different strategy once that first punch landed and went for broke and just did nothing but just punch, we call it punches and bunches, but just flurried until Leon went down, I think it would have been over. So where he goes from here is the question. He's a great fighter. He's got great skills. He's very technical. He showed great composure, like I just said. But what's going to happen now when he's trying to get a title shot, considering he just almost got knocked out by Nate Diaz? You get a guy like Colby, maybe Usman as well. They're not going to let that slide. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, he's a good opponent, I'll fight him. They're going to say, dude, you just almost got knocked out by Nate Diaz. You need to go fight some more people. So I think he set himself back in that last round, which is unfortunate because he had a great fight until then and he just got caught. Many times you get caught like that and it's over. You lose, right? I mean, that punch alone would have been over. And he wouldn't have had a chance and he would have taken a big L against a guy who's unranked. So, I mean, he didn't do as bad as what could have happened. I mean, he ended up winning the fight either way, but it definitely hurt him, I think. And I'll be interested to see what's going to happen from here and where he goes and how they assess that last round and where he's going to be. And I'd like to see how he's going to take it as well. But anyway, great fight by Leon Edwards. He won the fight fair and square. He won every round except the last round. And hats off to Nate Diaz for just being a tough, bad motherfucker who just never disappoints. There's only one Nate Diaz in the world. He's one of a kind, and he is just fucking awesome. I'll always watch a Nate Diaz fight, no matter who he's fighting. So I was just very impressed with the fight, very happy. And it was just one more absolutely amazing, exciting fight for the card. All right, the next fight is Figueiredo versus Moreno. And I will have to say this fight, I don't know where I stood in this fight because Moreno's confidence was so high going into it. So I had to think there might be something up his sleeve and he might be ready. And he definitely showed he was. Figueiredo just couldn't do it. And Moreno looked absolutely amazing. Not only did he beat Figueiredo, but he absolutely dominated him. He put him down in the first round with the jab. He got a takedown in the second round, rode his back, dominated him there. And then in the third round, again, he got a takedown, took his back, got the choke, and finished it. I mean, it was as dominant of a performance as you can get. And that was another exciting fight because who could have expected Moreno to win in such a dominant fashion when they had that first fight that was so close, so hard fought, And, you got the champ saying he didn't have a good fight camp and things weren't, good. And then Moreno, the same, he was saying he was ready, and all these things all these variables came into that first fight that got you kind of questioning everything. So it was set up to look like Figueiredo was going to just win this fight quite easily and dominate Moreno, or maybe it would be a tough fight, but Figueiredo would still win. That was not the case. And the cool thing about this fight is it was one of those feel-good fights, I didn't really have a favorite. I like both guys. I didn't really have a guy that I'm just like really rooting for. I was just going for a good fight. I felt like once Figueiredo got, and if I'm messing up his name, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not like an expert at saying people's names. Figueiredo, tomato. I honestly, like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not great at people's names. But, the thing is like, I think that first jab when he got put down, it affects you mentally, especially when you're the champ, you think you're going to win. You look at Figueiredo outside the octagon since his last fight and since he's been a champion, he's living the high life. You know what I mean? He's buying all the nice, fancy stuff. He's living good, and he's already in that champ life. And, with the fight as close as Moreno was last time, it's a little early to start thinking you're the king like someone like Adesanya, who's dominated so many people and really is arguably unbeatable, So, I think when he got dropped by that jab of that first round, then he got taken down, got rode a little bit. I think his mentality just started changing a little bit. I'm not saying he's weak. I just think it's normal human mentality to start questioning things and start worrying about things. Panic sets in. You get a little bit tired. I've been there myself. The cardio starts going a little bit more. You start making desperate moves, desperate punches, desperate, things that's going to get you in trouble. And Moreno was just on point, absolutely just stellar. I mean, he was so sharp, so fast, capitalized on every single opening that he had. He missed the choke first. It didn't faze him at all. He just went right back for another one, got under the chin and got the choke, got the win. And he's the new champion. And he's the first Mexican-born champion. And he was so happy. I was just watching him on the embedded shows, and he was so proud that he had a room of his house, like this small little room that had like Legos and toys, and he collects toys and all this stuff. And he was so happy that he had this room, and he was fortunate enough to have made enough money and be a big enough star in the UFC that he could afford a place to have his own room, because when he was growing up, he grew up in such a small house and he didn't have, he wasn't able to collect toys, more or less have a room to showcase them. And this is before tonight, so... it's one of those wins. It's like, no matter who, even if I was going for Figueiredo and I was a fan of his, you can't not feel great for Moreno and see someone who's the first Mexican-born champion win a championship. Good for Mexico. You guys made it now. You guys got a UFC belt. And there's a lot of Mexican fans, a huge number of Mexican fans. I know that because my teammate Cain Velasquez, he wasn't born in Mexico, but he's a Mexican American, and he had a huge fan base. And there's a lot of MMA fans there, so I'm sure they're cheering and doing parades for him and everything else coming up. But yeah, it's one of those fights. It just feels really good to see a guy like that win. He deserves it. He fought for it and he earned it. And it's just, man, it's so good to see. That's like a Rose Namajunas fight when she won her title. You're almost in tears watching her shaking as she's getting her belt. So I absolutely live for that. That's why this card is so amazing. It had a little bit of everything. It had a little bit of everything to make it just such a stellar card. And seeing him win that was just that. It was like that emotional, heart-wrenching kind of like, that feel-good moment that I think we all needed in the mix of all this other stuff, the violence and the craziness of the rest of the card. So, yeah, hats off to Moreno. Can't wait to see where he goes from here. I think he put on a great performance, and I think he put himself pretty high up there. It's going to be hard to beat him. I can't think of too many guys in that division that's gonna give him too much of a test right now if he keeps fighting like that. So, yeah. That's all I got to say about that. I won't rattle on, but good job, Moreno.
What's up, everybody? I am here in Thailand. This is the first time I've ever been here. Been dying to come here for years. Mike Swick, he's one of the big reasons he's been trying to pull me down here. What he built down here, AKA Thailand, is incredible. There's people here from all over the world. can train mixed martial arts here, jiu-jitsu. They have weightlifting, they have cardio, and obviously they have Muay Thai, boxing, everything. I'm telling you guys, I know everybody wants to go to Thailand because Thailand's so cool, but you can't come to Thailand without coming to AKA Thailand. Come on.
All right, so the last fight of the night, the main event, Izzy versus Vettori. It's hard to go against Izzy. It really is. I thought Costa was going to put pressure on him, kind of like Vettori did, and cause him to have a different type of fight, which could have possibly cost him to lose, and he didn't. He shut Costa down completely. I've had Vettori on the podcast a couple times already. I really like Vettori. I like his style, and I knew he was going to go out there and do what he did as far as being aggressive and going after Adesanya, and I think that it showed a lot. I think it showed a lot for both fighters, to be honest. Adesanya is just superior. He's a superior fighter. He's a superior grappler, striker, and he's improved his grappling tremendously. I mean, if you look at the first fight and you look at even the Jan fight, or Jan fight. Again, I'm not good with names. The Jan fight, he didn't do as much from the bottom to get up from there. And I know Jan was bigger, but he made a big difference tonight. There was a lot more work from the bottom to get up. I mean, you can tell he'd really worked on that a lot because he knew Vettori was going to have the ability to probably take him down, and he didn't want to stay on his back for very long because the longer you're on your back, you're losing the fight. He's on your back for 2 or 3 minutes of the fight, your round's gone. That easy. Vettori did get a couple takedowns. Couldn't do much with it because, like I said, Adesanya worked a lot better on the ground. Very impressive. That I didn't expect him to have improved that much since the Jan fight, and worked so hard to get up. I think a big reason from what I've noticed was Vettori kept his hips kind of high, and he didn't flatten himself out a little bit or enough. And I think he gave him too much space, in my opinion. My opinion's my opinion, same as you guys. So let me know if you disagree with me in the comments. But both 2 or 3 times that he did get the takedown, he got up when he gave him space, and I think he should have flattened him out a little bit more. It wouldn't have been exciting. He would have still had rabbit punches on the face, but he could have held him down a little bit better, controlling the hands. You have to have your hands to get your posture and get yourself up, and I think he postured up a little too much. And then in comparison to that, you can see how when Adesanya did reverse him and he got on top, he postured up, but he postured way up. Okay, there's a difference. When you're in BJJ and you're working on the ground, you don't want to be flat on your back, and you when you're on bottom, and when you are on bottom, it's easy to keep someone on their back if you're flattening them out and you're putting all your weight on top of them and you're crushing them down. Your hips are down, you're flattening yourself out, and you're making it hard. You're controlling the arms. But when you give them space, they're going to have room to turn. They're going to have room to shrimp. They're going to have room to make movements that are going to eventually get themselves out of that position, or at least get themselves into a better position, as we saw in the Figueiredo fight when he pulled Moreno into guard right after he got taken down. He did a great job of pulling Moreno into guard quite quickly and got himself in a better position because he had the space, or he made the space, actually. He didn't have the space. He made the space. And then Vettori, I think, didn't flatten him out enough. He got up every time. And I'll say hats off to Adesanya. One thing that was really great about this fight was the fact that Adesanya was very, very good defensively. To have someone pressuring you as much as Vettori, which I respect Vettori just as much for pressuring him and going after it, because he wasn't afraid. He didn't put him on a pedestal. He went straight after him. What Costa didn't do, what we hoped Costa would do, but he didn't do. And we hoped not that we wanted Costa to win, but we wanted a better fight. Vettori did put the pressure on him. He did chase him down. He did, go after him. But Adesanya just had such superior striking, and from a defensive standpoint where it's harder to have good striking, when you're going back, especially when Adesanya's back was against the cage, that's the hardest time to land good strikes. I mean, your back's against the cage. You can't back up. You're kind of flat on a wall. It's easier to get taken down when your back's against the cage because you can't sprawl, you can't get out of the way. And Vettori still couldn't take him down, and sometimes he wasn't even going for the takedown. But Adesanya was still landing strikes, landing really, really good strikes. He was just crisp and clean and did a fantastic job. And I knew by the time the fight was over that he won every round. He proved that he is the best middleweight out there, and I don't know, honestly, after Vettori was kind of like the last person I thought at this stage right now that was going to have a chance to beat him by doing what he did initially with the takedowns, but just holding him down and possibly holding him down long enough to win each of those rounds. And he couldn't do that. And, it took a light heavyweight at 205 Jesus, the guy was probably like 220, 225 when they fought. That's what it took to hold someone like Adesanya down. And there's just no one with that strength and that size in the middleweight division. I think Adesanya called out Whitaker at the end. I don't see that fight going much different, to be honest. Adesanya's level of striking and his fight IQ is just on a different level. It's something that he couldn't use against Jan because getting taken down by Jan could be the end of each round. So he had to be a lot more careful and cautious in that fight. And it was a huge risk for him to take that fight. But when he's fighting guys his own size or a little bit bigger, like Vettori, I think was, I don't see how they're gonna stop him with those strikes, with his feints, and like we saw in the Costa fight, he stopped Costa without even landing the strikes, just from his feints, just from his movement, because every time Costa was going to do something, Adesanya showed him that he was ready for that exact technique or whatever it was that he was going to do, and he was ready to catch him with it, and so it stopped Costa in his tracks, and he couldn't do anything. So, again, Adesanya just proves even more that it's hard to bet against him. And I honestly don't see anyone beating him right now in the division. I think he's going to be there for a while. And, hats off to him for a great fight. And hats off to Vettori for giving him a great fight and going for it. But he did the best that he could have done in the situation. He's just not there yet. And he's got to clean up some of his style and have a closer match maybe next time, maybe in the future. But getting another match with Adesanya is not going to be easy for him. But he is a great fighter, and I was very impressed that he went out there and fought like he did, and it wasn't just all talk. He 100% believed he was going to win the fight. He 100% believed he was going to get him down and hold him, and he went for it. So hats off to Adesanya. Great win for him. Great card. Fantastic from top to bottom. Extremely entertaining. The Riddell-Dober fight, just to go back a little bit into the prelims, another outstanding fight. I mean, Dober was just dominating the beginning, and Riddell just came back and was just showed such composure and resolve and fortitude to just be so strong mentally and take all that Dober had and then dish it right back with those just crisp technique punches with speed. So just a great card. It's so awesome to watch as a fan, and it was great to do this recap. I hope you appreciated my opinion and my recap here. Let me know in the comments what you think. I don't do a lot of recaps, but certain cards I want to do for you guys, and then your feedback's going to tell me whether I should continue doing these or not. So let me know what you think. I'm putting out a lot of content. We've been averaging one interview put out every 2.5 days. So I've been putting a lot of content out for you guys. So if you want to support the show and you want to help us out and show my sponsors that we're making a difference here, you go to manscaped.com, manscaped.com. Use code QUICK. You get 20% off and you get free shipping. I'll make it quick and easy. I won't blow this thing up with a big ad at the end. But manscaped.com, code QUICK. Support the show. And we got an online store coming up in 1 week from now where you can actually buy merch. We got some really cool designs. If you look at the Tyron Woodley podcast, we showed the shirt, the new monkey podcast shirt. It's really cool. So you guys can actually buy shirts from AKA Thailand and from the podcast online, delivered via DHL anywhere in the world. It's only going to take like a week or so to get to you. Thailand's usually notoriously hard for shipping, but we figured it out, and we got a nice account with DHL. So we're looking out for you guys that want to support us, and we appreciate it. We're growing. It's been a good year, a little over a year that we've been pushing hard on the podcast, and we've noticed significant changes, and we greatly appreciate it. So thank you for all the support, and we will see you soon with another great podcast.